Crash Bandicoot is back in Skylanders. Oh. But then after that, Crash Bandicoot is back for real, from the ground up, or in other words, rising from the grave. Hopefully they can stitch the pieces back together well enough to be even better than the originals. The original trilogy was full of colourful characters, great levels, and strange naming choices. What is he, like a dog or something? No, fuck off, he's a Bandicoot. These rash pots he's collecting, is he just eating apples or something? Fuck off, they're Wumpa fruit. Apples do not have the power of levitation. These are some of my favourite games, and I want them to remain mostly intact. However, there's a few changes I'd like to see implemented to make these new ones some of my favourite games. It's worth noting that I'm not going to be including stupid shit like improved graphics on this list. I think we're all assuming it's going to look a tad better than it did 20 years ago, so if you're going to complain about something I missed from the list, please first think whether, well yeah, it's a remake. Of course that's going to be there, you big dummy. Could answer your complaint. Anyway, here's the list. 5. More little challenges. In the second game there were several gems which didn't play by the normal rules. Usually you either have to collect all the boxes in a level, reach a special skeleton platform without dying and complete the bonus area it takes you to, or complete an area only accessible after you have the corresponding colour gem to grab a gem. There were 3 exceptions to this, however. In Turtle Woods the blue gem is granted for breaking 0 crates in the level, and in 2 of the surfing levels you have to beat the level before a special timer runs out. This game's only time trial levels. I see no reason why more gems for strange little challenges couldn't be added. Something like completing a level having defeated no enemies, only using a certain number of jumps, never burrowing underground in the B levels, or managing to perfect the victory dance using Connect. Something like that. There's a lot of potential to add extra challenges to these games, and they wouldn't require a complete redesign. 4. Adding sprinting and relics to the earlier games, as well as ghosts. Warped is a fantastic game, but I'm not the biggest fan of the power-ups. They're fun for what they are. The levels aren't really designed with them in mind, so for the most part it feels like cheating. There are very few places where they're required to progress, and even when they are, it's usually just for one obstacle. Let's go through a rundown. You already have a belly flop? Well, here's a slightly better belly flop. You already have a high jump? Well, here's a double jump. You already have a spin? Well, here's a longer spin. You already have a bazooka? Oh wait, you don't? Well, here's a fucking bazooka to take out targets before you ever reach them. My point is that these abilities make the game easier rather than being integrated into the level design. Platforming becomes easier and defeating enemies becomes easier. The sprint is fantastic though. It changes how you play the game and also makes you feel stupid for all the time trial scores you posted before you obtained it. It not only gives the game a faster and more difficult pace, but goes hand in hand with the time trial mechanic. Coupled with the leaderboards, it adds another layer of longevity to the game, and I still like competing for times to this day. Relics and sprinting would be a great addition to the previous games, completely changing up how they're played. Hell, throw in online leaderboards while we're at it. 3. Changing the driving missions in Crash 3. Crash 2 might just be my favourite game. Crash 3 seems to be a lot of other Crash fans' favourite game. Often they tell me Warped is the better game because of variety, but variety is not always a good thing. I would rather watch the same fantastic movie twice than watch it once and then switch to embedding almonds into my scrotum and running nude through the squirrel sanctuary. For some of you this may hurt to hear, hell, it pains me to say it, but a lot of the non-platforming sections in Crash Warped just aren't very good. At best, they don't hold up well. In Crash 2, most of the new gameplay mechanics came in side platforming levels and so didn't outstay their welcome. That's not the case in 3 though. Don't get me wrong, I loved them as a kid, but I also wore jorts for a while simply because Crash did. What I'm saying is that kid me can't be trusted. Flying, riding a motorcycle, riding a jet ski mosquito thing, they're all clunky, awkward and boring to play. It's worse that there are multiple levels dedicated to each. I'd love to see them reworked a bit to bring them up to date. At the very least let me control the camera separately from the jet ski and without accelerating so I can stop topping up the sea with my tears. 2. Skins/extra characters. I always played Crash because I found it fun, but the secret endings for collecting the gems were a nice touch. Now I think they could add more unlockables for gems and relics, specifically new characters to play. Other Crash characters would be cool, but it'd be great to see other Sony heroes, Kratos or Sackboy. I'd love to see some of the Naughty Dog guys, maybe even with their own little touches. Nathan Drake could ride Elena through the icy caverns, and Joel from The Last of Us could smash Cortex's head open with a spiked bat and then repress the memories of his daughter as he cradled Coco in a corner. It could fit well. They could also add in other notable Activision heroes like Spyro or Robot Tank. Obviously everyone would have to have a cartoony redesign, but it could be a nice touch. 1. In-depth vehicle building and racing. When I think beloved platforming mascots, I think vehicle customization. Maybe make them fat too and scrap the platforming. Even better. If for some reason they can't implement this change, I would settle for tribal tattoos. And if by some sheer stroke of bad luck they can't manage this, I guess I'd settle for a hard mode. Not a simple no extra lives or no Aku Aku mode, but a reworking of the game levels. Think Hell mode in Super Meat Boy, or even Dante Must Die in Devil May Cry. Take the existing levels and change them to be more challenging. Maybe add tougher enemies or more difficult jumps. Call it Crash Must Cry, or Crash Must Be Crucified, or Crash Must Cram several angry crabs into his cavities. Any of those could work. I've been playing Crash Bandicoot for 20 years, and I know so have a lot of you. Whilst I'm very excited for these remakes, I'd love some harder content. New levels can come in later games, hopefully after this remaster is successful, but reworked versions of existing levels would be welcome additions. Here's my list of things I don't want to happen. Number 1. Please don't fuck this up.